Hello, I'm Rebecca the Maths Lady, here to help you become an expert primary maths teacher so that all your children become confident, creative and fluent with their maths. This is the 8th video in this series on teaching maths to 6 to 7-year-olds, and in this video I'm going to be exploring how as teachers we learn to listen to children, listen to what's really going on in their minds and help them express it rather than listening for the answer we expect to hear or the method we expect to hear. In this video, I'll explain in more detail what listening to is as a teaching strategy and how it's integral to expert primary maths teaching. I'll explain the different categories of questions that can be used as listening to questions and why we're focusing on one particular category of question. And then I'll go through some specific strategies you can use as a teacher to help you to listen to the maths of children, and they will include snowballing, number talks, reification, estimation and the puzzle toy. Right, let's get started. When I run live training, I take time early on in that training to explain the heart of expert primary maths teaching. It is not just about deeply understanding the structures behind maths and teaching the methods from the structures. It's also about the way that you question children and the way you listen to them. Essentially, what's going on in the most wonderful classrooms is this. We have the two sides of expert primary maths teaching: structural low floor high ceiling teaching, which is what I've been explaining in the videos up to now, where I've been explaining the different structures that we teach with, like base 10 and array and so on. But we also have teachers who are expert at listening to children, not listening for specific answers or specific methods. Now, where you have both going on together, you get the most amazing positive feedback loop, because children are telling you what's in their minds, and that's constantly challenging you as a teacher to expand your understanding of maths education. And in fact, this was at the heart of teacher training in Cumbria, which is where the teaching strategies that I explain come from. Teachers were taught to listen to children. And then they gradually came to understand the structures of maths teaching, but no one took the time to capture that. And that's what I've been doing, or trying to do so precisely. But you really do get this wonderful positive vibration. When I've run training, I'm not usually needed back, because teachers are so in tune with the whole domain of maths education and maths learning around them, because their children are telling them all the time about the challenges they're facing, about how they're thinking about maths, and about new ways of doing maths that teacher had never thought about, which constantly challenge them to think deeper and deeper about maths teaching, even without someone like me, a consultant, there to challenge them. In the classrooms where you've got teachers who embrace both sides of this, the structural teaching with the methods flowing from the structures and the listening to, everything becomes much more efficient, because you're teaching what needs to be taught to the actual children who are in front of you, rather than teaching everything that could possibly need to be taught. So a lot of time opens up. You get increasingly highly skilled teachers. You get much more time available for cross-topic problem solving and cross-curricular problem solving. And you get teachers who absolutely love their profession and want to stay in it, despite all the other challenges they face in their work. Now, before I go on to explain some specific strategies for listening to children, I just want to point out, I've been to training where some consultants have advised teachers to use listening to strategies when they're using rich pictures as starting points for conversation. And that's a wonderful thing to do, but it's not the heart of what I'm doing here. What I'm doing here is suggesting that you use listening to strategies for simple questions, maybe like 37 add 9. That'd be later in the year for 6 to 7-year-olds, but it's not something complex. It's not a complicated problem. It doesn't involve lots of words. It doesn't involve pretty pictures. It's absolutely the heart of the curriculum. But when most teachers show children a problem like this, they want the answer 36 and they are looking for a particular strategy. And as an expert teacher, there may be times when you want that, but in general, you want to be much more open-minded in what you're looking for. And that's easier said than done. So let's get started on the particular strategies that we're going to teach. The first strategy is snowballing. And snowballing is a general term where when you ask a question, maybe like this one, instead of getting feedback from the whole class straight away, you slow down and you ask children to think in their own minds while you're still showing them the problem. Don't speak, just think in your own mind. And then you generally put them into pairs, or it might be threes or very small groups, to explain their thinking, their methods and their answers to each other and try and convince each other that their answers are right and their methods are correct. And then you bring the whole class back together and take feedback and try to cherish variety and variety of method in particular. Some teachers even put in an extra snowballing step where children are initially in pairs and are then in groups. You want to make sure every child talks. Every child has a go at explaining their thinking, and every method is cherished. So snowballing is a nice general introduction to this challenge of getting every child articulating and every child heard in a large classroom, which is no small thing. The next stage I usually take schools to is to look at number talks. This book here, Number Talks, has a DVD with lots of videos of examples. I imagine there's an edition now where you get a code and you can log in and see those videos online. And it takes you through a very disciplined strategy for cherishing variety of thinking. And in simple terms, what you do is you show children a question and they all sit in silence and they use their hands to communicate with you. So a thumb up means I have an answer, and the number of fingers you show represent the number of different methods you have for getting that answer. And you may not have an answer, but you may have a method you're working with. So the children learn to communicate with you in that way. Then when you've given them a lot of time, you start to collect answers. You point to children who've got their thumbs up and just collect their answers on the board. Poker face. And if it's live training, you get a little bit of Lady Gaga there. It's really important you don't use your facial expressions to give away whether children are right or wrong or encourage them. Absolute poker face all the time. Just collect those answers. And when you've collected answers, you then want to collect methods. And if a child has got something wrong, I would often go to them and ask them to go through their method, and they'll usually discover what they've done wrong as they go. We want to create a classroom culture where mistakes are valued as tremendously positive learning experience, and nobody's afraid of making them because the focus is on the method. I remember once I asked my daughter what's 6 is on the way to school, and she said 38. And just poker face, I said, "What's your method?" And she said, "Well, I saw it as 3 12s, and 12 out of 12 out of 12 is 30. Oh, it's 36. So much more powerful than just saying, "No, you've got it wrong." A much more positive learning experience leaves her immediately as an empowered and clever child instead of as a failure. Now, with both the snowballing and the number talks, you want to have plenty of apparatus around for this age group, age 6 to 7, so that children can pick up apparatus and use it to help them explain if they want to do so. And of course, there are lots of methods for an answer like this, and we want to link it back to the structures. So a child might add 10 and subtract 1. Another child might subordinate partitioning by adding 3 and then 6. You would be surprised what children come up with. The more creative, the more unusual, the better. So this Number Talks book was by Sherry Parish, and I highly recommend it. I may well share my Number Talks training on YouTube at some stage, and if I do, I'll put a link to it in the description of this video. The third strategy is reification. That comes from the Dutch School of Education, and it's just where you write a number problem and ask children to invent a story that gives context to that problem. It's a very, very powerful teaching strategy. Lots of teachers try to invent practical problems that give context to number problems. It's actually more powerful to go the other way. And a lot more fun, because you're going to see inside children's minds and inside their worlds. It helps to make your classroom the unique place and wonderful place that it has the potential to be. A fourth listening to strategy is estimation. So you could just dump a load of bricks on a table, cover them, reveal them for not long enough for the children to possibly be able to count them, and then cover them again. And you're not just asking for estimates of how many bricks there are there, you're focusing on getting children to explain how they worked out their estimates and their strategies for thinking these problems through. And those problems could be any problem that they simply don't have time to solve. A lot of children really hate estimation, so make it a game, make it a challenge, make it a competition with a small prize of children being first into lunch or so on, to get them engaged through games. But the key is to focus on getting them talking about their strategies rather than just guessing answers, and to give credit for good strategic thinking. And you can use snowballing strategies to develop every child's strategic thinking. And the final teaching strategy, which I love for this age group, is the puzzle toy, which is just where you have a class toy. I've chosen Bagpuss here because I love Bagpuss and I love showing children this age the Bagpuss videos that are on YouTube. And he's very thoughtful, but sometimes he gets things wrong. And today, Bagpuss has done this calculation. What do you think Bagpuss has done? Think in your own head, and then talk to your talk partner, and you can get some feedback. I find that typically this is the last year where you can really take this toy journey with children. By the age of 7 to 8, they will generally begin to reject this teaching strategy, and it's such a shame. So you really want to capture it with your 6 to 7-year-olds because it's so powerful at this age. And I would always have a class toy that's not like the class toy in any other classroom, that's unique to your classroom, that makes your children feel like they're part of a really unique and special culture. So that's it. Listening to is absolutely at the heart of expert teaching. It sits alongside the structural teaching. And if you've got your structures set up right, the structures will support this diversity of thinking, and they'll help you and your children communicate with each other. And although listening to is almost a state of mind for teachers who are very experienced at it, and they can do it in very creative ways, they are just tuned in to their children. It's really useful to have some specific strategies for it that you focus on from time to time. So I've explained 5 in this video. I hope you found this interesting. If you've time to give us a like, that'd be wonderful. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do so you can find it again. If you have any questions, please leave us a comment below the video and I'll try and respond. And if you could share this or any of the other videos with your colleagues, that would be awesome. You can find a full list of the videos at www.authenticmaths.co.uk/videos. Thank you for taking this time to invest in your professional skills so that we can help raise a generation of fantastic mathematicians, which is what this world needs. Take care. Bye for now.